the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody. For those of you who don't know, we've got once a year, beginning of the session, organizational meeting, which we will try to get through quickly so we can get on with it. Okay, so we're all here. Both sound. I'm close.
So repeat after me, and we will have to do this 3 times. And if you would, just state your name after I say hi in both paragraphs. So, I, Jane Conroy.
Hi, Kevin Sargent.
Do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
And I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of this state,
and the state,
so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof.
so long as I shall continue to citizen thereof.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I,
Jane Conroy. Kevin Sargent.
do swear
Do swear
that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability
the duties incumbent on me as a select board member
the duties incumbent on me as a select board member
for the town of Dover-Foxcroft,
for the town of Dover-Foxcroft,
according to the Constitution
according to the Constitution
and laws of the state.
and laws of the state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I,
Kevin Sargent.
do swear
Do swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of this state,
and of the state,
so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof.
so long as I shall continue to citizen thereof.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I,
Kevin Sargent.
do swear
Do swear
that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability
the duties incumbent on me
the duties incumbent on me
as an overseer of the board
as an overseer of the board
for the town of Dover-Foxcroft,
to the town of Dover-Foxcroft,
according to the Constitution and laws of the state.
according to the Constitution and laws of the state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Once
Thank
more.
you very much. Oh, geez. I thought I counted 3 already.
I,
Kevin Sargent.
do swear
Do swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of this state,
and of the state,
so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof.
so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I,
Kevin Sargent.
do swear
Do swear
that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
to the best of my ability
to the best of my abilities
the duties incumbent on me
the duties incumbent on me
as an assessor for the town of Dover-Foxcroft,
as an assessor for the town of Dover-Foxcroft,
according to the Constitution and laws of the state.
according to the Constitution and laws of the state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
All
How are we okay now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You all? Welcome. All right. Organizational meeting items A. The election of chair and vice chair. We're looking for nomination. We'll do first the chair and then we'll do vice chair. So we're looking for nominations for chair.
I'm not Tracy Redmond for chair.
One? Any others?
I nominate Lamont for chair.
Okay.
Can I speak to my legal?
Don't know if we normally do that.
We don't normally have 2 candidates.
Yeah. I think we need seconds for each. Well. So, second for either, both.
I will second Steve Lamont.
I think it's fine for you to second yourself, isn't it? You know, fine. Yeah. We have a lawyer, so we can check with the lawyer.
That's good.
Yeah, okay. So now we'll vote, I think we'll vote in turn
make it less confusing, we'll vote on the first nomination, which was from Tracy, and we'll vote on the second nomination. So whoever gets, do one vote. So all in favor of Tracy? Okay. All in favor of me? Okay, great. Thank you, Tracy, for stepping up.
Congratulations.
Now we're gonna move right on to vice chair. Same process.
I nominate Tracy for vice.
I nominate Jane Conroy for vice. And we need seconds,
Second James nomination.
and you second yourself, that's fine. We'll do the same thing. All in favor of Tracy for chair?
Vice chair.
Vice chair, please. Vice chair. Okay, all right, thank you. This is why we have 7 of us.
Yeah.
All in favor of Jane Conroy for vice chair? You're gonna abstain. All right, thank you very much. So, this thing belongs to me for a while. All right, now for municipal appointments, we all have a list of municipal officers in all their positions. It is long.
I'll move to approve, the certificate of appointment of municipal office. Second.
Any discussion?
I just had a question regarding the EMS director, so that potentially may be added at some later date. Want to clarify?
Yes.
Can you say that again?
There's one name missing.
Oh,
the
that's what I thought you
EMS.
said. yeah.
EMS.
So-
Yeah, so
To
we're,
be added, we'll do it next time.
right, okay,
We're checking.
I'm good with that.
right, any other comments on the list? Okay, all in favor? Okay. Thank you very much. All right, there are any adjustments to the agenda for the organizational meeting? No, I've had some conversations with a few of you of some items, and I've asked that we put them on our next meeting, because this is one's chocolate block full. Okay, adjustments? Okay, first new real item there is the finance committee. There's a proposal to create a new finance committee. Somebody, we can have a discussion about it if we first and second.
I move to create a new finance committee of the select board.
Second.
Second control. All right, discussion.
Well, I think that in the course of the last several months, and probably before that, it occurred to us that it would be prudent to have a finance committee to make sure that our budget is on track, or to identify any, any issues as we go forward, at least on a quarterly basis. It would be helpful to do that. It would inform the board of areas that we're underspent in, or areas that we may be heading to be overspent in, and so that we could manage for that.
Yeah, I would say if this has been handled by default, the admin committee has, when a financial issue has come up, but there's been no group dedicated to just keeping an eye on the in and out and planning ahead if necessary. So,
Yes. Traditionally, I think it would, assist with the budget committee. When the budget committee forms
yes,
in the spring, it would be helpful to have some board members who are ready to speak to issues that we've identified, or areas of concern, or areas where well, should that would happen.
Jane?
And also, I think in the conversation, we've discovered some things that need to either be rebid or go out to bid and or contracts, et cetera, et cetera. And in essence, that could be a full-time job.
Yeah.
So in support of Elsinore, the finance committee may take that on.
Sure, okay. Any other comments? Okay. We have a first and a second, so all in favor? Excellent. All right, new committee. That means we need to put people on it. do that afterwards. Okay, so the committee responsibilities, we've had a couple of suggestions. Just shifting around some of the responsibilities, not creating new responsibilities, but just some logical choices. We have, the first one is to move to add code enforcement to the protection committee. The second one is to shift cemetery maintenance from the promotion and development to the public works. And then to move the trust funds, which was an admin, over to the brand new finance committee. We can vote on all of these individually, be fine. James, do you have a question?
Well, I do have a question, but I'm to make a motion.
Well, should you ask the question before we?
No.
No,
Oh,
we
make a
can do it as discussion. I'm going to move, or I'm going to suggest that we just approve all three of these changes, but if discussion comes up, then we can change it.
Motion to accept all the changes?
Second.
Okay, James?
So my question deals with, the piece of code enforcement that is assessing and suggests that assessing be put under finance. I mean, or admin, sorry, admin, or finance. Because I think also in our discussion, there are some issues that go to two different committees for different reasons.
Yeah.
And assessing is one of those, I think.
Assessing separate, you mean from
Well,
the
I
code
didn't,
enforcement issue, the actual assessing issue.
Right,
correct,
Okay, I agree.
Yeah.
okay. Because if one person is doing two, and
Right.
it doesn't make sense for assessing to come to protection.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so we've gotten a, Jane, you suggested to amend to add the
To
fourth.
add to have assessing become part of administrative / finance. I'd love to fight it out.
We can throw it.
I-
It is finance,
I-
I think ultimately it is
finance.
finance. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
We're doing fine.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
So you have that in
I
the
think
fourth one, the fourth shift.
Yep, meeting assessing.
Yeah.
Also another comment about
Yes.
that, because sometimes, that involves people who are looking for assistance with their inability to pay their taxes. So, I'm not sure that, yeah, I think we should just talk more about this. It's a little more than finance sometimes.
Which is true for some of these things as well, if they touch upon. So this is having worked on that committee, doing that particular role. There is a financial, not usually very much, but there is a financial impact. Either adjustment taken away from or having to. So, but admin doesn't have to be the one that talks about the other issues that go along with trying to figure out how to address their individual circumstances. Right. So it's just admin that just got it a long time ago. That's where it landed.
I would think we could put our trust in the finance committee to handle that. That could be what, I mean, it is part of it at the end. Rather than splitting up that duty, putting it in one spot where it's tracked. The issue has been a dumping ground for a long time. They like everything gets sent to admin committee.
Admin had a
Like
very
everything
good
goes
year.
over. So.
Yeah, Jane?
Well, I was gonna say, I think we just need to be open. We're changing some committees. Things have been done in the past, you know, protection, yeah, there's some code enforcement, yeah, it might go to something different. So let's just be open to say, can the committees talk with each other?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, if we find that this doesn't work, we can always call this up mid-year. We don't have to wait a whole year if we find that it seems to be that we misplaced something. But yes, as Joel says, admin committee was exceptionally busy this past year, and then it seems to me that one could use a little bit of spreading out. Okay, so we've got 4 proposed changes, as amended by Jane. Ready for a vote? All in favor? Okay, great. Thanks very much. Okay, so now we have committee assignments. Okay, so we have two positions that are vacated because Tom is retired. We have Joel, who's currently only on one committee, which is the way the math worked out. And then obviously Kevin needs to find something to do with his spare time. Yeah. And the committees, I think the committee chairs should be nominated by the committee themselves. Is that how we've done that in the past? We haven't changed the chairs in a long time, but I believe that's how we did it. So
the committee selected tonight, then the committee elects the chair on.
keeps the chair that they have, or, obviously we don't have a chair for the finance committee, that's brand new. So I've had a few requests from people when I solicited and asked what people might like. Didn't hear from Kevin being new, you have the two that are the 3 seats that are available. There's one for promotion development, which includes recreation, airport, cemetery, and maintenance. And then we've got public works, wastewater, and solid waste. That's the second one. And then we have the finance.
I for sure need promotion development. And I need it on another one.
Well, you're getting 2, whether you like it or not. Joel, I know that you suggested you wanted to be on promotion and development, and also you said finance. Yeah, well, okay. We do give some deference to seniority.
Oh, for sure.
So, then I'm going to suggest somebody will have to make a motion, but just get this sorted out before we make a motion. Joel, go on to promotion. Kevin will go on to public works. That takes care of our 2 vacancies on existing ones, and then we need 3 for finance, which is going to mean a 3rd committee assignment for everybody that's on there. So Joel has volunteered for 1. Anybody else interested in finance?
I'd be interested in that.
3.
Steve, I'm interested in finance, but I'm not interested in being on 3 committees.
Right. Okay, so
Tracy also is interested.
okay. Well, then that would be good. All right. So Joel, Emery, and Tracy on finance. Okay. So I'm going to read this all out so we're all clear. For the admin, assessing, and trust funds. Well, sorry, there's been some changes just voted in. I've got the old ones. So I'll just admin is Cindy, Jane, and myself. Promotion development be Cindy, Tracy, Joel. Public works would be myself, Emery, Kevin. Police, fire, protection committee be Jane, Joel, Tracy. And the new finance committee will be Joel, Emery, and Tracy. So I'm looking for a motion to just all of that. We didn't give you 2? Luckies.
Right.
So would you like to give up a seat on one of your other seats and go on to finance?
No, I'd like to give up promotion and development.
Okay. With somebody on, so we need, I don't know, the math is that we should take somebody off of one. We've got the same situation that wound up with Joel only being one.
But that being said, sometimes I was grateful. Because there is a bit of a learning curve. So, I mean, we could do this and then reevaluate if we find that, like you said, the finance committee is going to get stood up and organized, and we may need to have another discussion about workload.
Yep. So if there's somebody that doesn't want to be on 3, put Kevin on 2nd. My suggestion. Good. Well, I hate to let Kevin off the hook.
And he's on a learning curve too.
Yeah. So why don't we do this then? Then we'll leave it as we've got. But Cindy, you wanted to swap off of promotion development for finance. So Joel's already on it, Tracy's already on it. Emery, would you be interested in promotion development or?
I can be if Cindy wants to, yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
so we'll swap that around. Emery will go to promotion development. Cindy, finance. And I think what we should do, I'm going to make a suggestion that in 6 months, we assess the workload of the committees with the responsibility shifted. And then, if it's okay with everybody, and Kevin included, Kevin could then be swapped in for wherever we've got problem. And I've just for Kevin's benefit, we can't have any more than 3 on a committee because then that constitutes a voting majority. So, okay. So once again, no changes to admin. Promotion development is now Tracy, Joel, and Emery. Public Works is, as stated before, myself, Emery, and Kevin. Police, no change. Finance is Joel, Tracy, and Cindy. Okay, that's the slate.
So at the 6-month check-in, can we please have our roadmaps established for each group that outline what we do, what's
Yeah.
under our purview, and then make sure that's public so everyone knows
Oh, yeah.
that this committee, this is what they do, so that we're not stepping on other committees' toes by accident. We know exactly where stuff goes so that we can officiate getting stuff up, but the public can.
I mean, for the most part, we've only tweaked it a little bit, but it's been running fairly smoothly in terms of delineation of responsibility. So, but reevaluating that with the changes we've moved around, I think is a fair point. Okay.
And I think the orientation referred to the committees, and suggest having more than an annual meeting.
Oh, yes. And I did, that was a suggestion that Joel and I talked about too. I think we should have a separate discussion at our next meeting about scheduling, regular scheduling, just because, like I said, I want to give that due consideration and thought, and we've got to stop the agenda tonight. So everybody between now and the next meeting, think about time commitments and how frequently you think that your committees you have been serving on might benefit from regular meetings and what time frame. Okay. So.
This is just a question, for information. I was thinking about how it could be useful in future for our subcommittees to have other members of the community on them, rather than just us.
Yep, and that's also, Joel made that suggestion already. We haven't done that before, at least not in time that I have been on. But I would like that also to be at the next meeting when we talk about that. So I'm looking for a motion for the slate of officers that I read out as it is.
Move to approve the officers as you read earlier.
Second, Jane. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Excellent. Thank you all. Kevin, you lucky duck. All right. So that is the end of the organizational meeting. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, organizational meeting is over. Thank you all. Okay, so the meeting, we've already done the pledge of allegiance, roll call, still all here. Anybody have any conflicts of interest that they need to bring before this particular agenda? Right, consent agenda for the treasurer's warrant. Anyone? Do I have a motion on that?
So move to approve the treasurer's warrants.
Second.
Okay, discussion? All in favor? Excellent. Thank you. Oh, still haven't signed. Okay, that's inside. You just can't go home until you sign. That's all. Then, so we got, that was both for payroll and admin. We have the minutes from the last meeting. Do I have a motion on those?
Move to approve the minutes from the meeting of June 5th.
Second.
Any discussion, corrections, anything? Okay. All in favor of the minutes? Very much. Any quick claim deeds? Not without. Where we've done. Yes. So open session. We have no public hearings today. Okay. All right. Open session for public. Okay. Start there on that side. We'll work this way. Martin.
My name is Pat Merrill. I'd like to say a special thank you to the EMS, police, fire, the town crews, especially the cemetery crews for making my uncle's homecoming a very special thing. If I missed anybody, I apologize.
Thank you. Oh, I didn't even see your hand up.
Oh, okay.
You go first. Mine's gonna be a bit longer.
All right, mine's pretty quick. Nancy Mitchell, from Dover-Foxcroft. We need the grass cut at the bottom of High Street. It's getting hard to see around.
Got that one there, Elsie? Okay. Then,
So I came tonight to talk about progress with Everbridge. I know a couple of you are new, so Everbridge is the town's emergency alert system. It is opt-in, and so I'm serving with the town, trying to encourage the people of Dover-Foxcroft, either living, working, or studying here if they're a student, to sign up for that program. Some of you saw me at the election. I was there getting people to sign up. We got about 30 that day, and that has been the best day since I started in mid-March. As of this morning, we were at about 433 people signed up, and our goal is 2,200 by mid-January. And so that's sort of the general overview, but more specifically, I think there are some challenges in that about half of the people I talked to that day, despite going through the whole spiel, still weren't interested. And so I guess I'm coming here to ask if you have any advice or if there are ways you can get involved or sort of where do we go from here?
Yeah, what do people say? They just aren't interested or?
Unfortunately, there is some of it that's distrust in the town. If I tell them that the town's not going to be selling their information, that can be a moot point if they don't trust the town to begin with. And I don't know what the answer to that is, but I think that in some ways it's one of the biggest hurdles to getting people signed up.
And people say, oh, I already get my information, Or,
There,
you know,
there
other
are a lot of people who say they get information from other sources. When they do mention that, I try and point out that Everbridge is Dover-Foxcroft specific. And so we can be, again, more specific, but also likely more accurate because it's Dover-Foxcroft people who's putting it out. Alcina putting it out.
I just was wondering, not benchmarking, but just a question, what percentage are we compared to other towns in the state? Are all other towns the same?
Actually, I think Alcina might know that better than I would.
I mean, we're hard to compare, honestly. Really, we're not unique to this where people don't want to share their information because they think it's going to be sold third party. With Everbridge, they work with very large government agencies, so they do not sell our information. We own all of the data, and then once this information is input into the system, we shred everything, so nothing's held. So as far as the trust aspect, we don't necessarily, we don't keep anything on file other than what's in the computer through Everbridge, and Everbridge is on lockdown basically. I can't speak for some other communities, because some other communities use other third parties, that are FedRAMP, like Everbridge is. So it's hard to believe that. And plus they're countywide too sometimes, or statewide also, so.
Cindy?
Yeah, I'm just wondering about if that's something that motion to approve might talk about. It feels like we've made an investment for public safety, making sure public safety. You know, it's an important way for us to communicate with our citizens when there's trouble. So, I don't know, maybe it's more protection, thinking about what would help people see it as a valued asset.
Well, sort of related to that, even just this morning, knowing what the next few days are gonna be, even just this morning, we got a couple people signed up. I posted about it on Facebook, and I think people see how immediately that will be helpful. So I think when we can point to things like that, I think that will be a good strength.
And,
No, good.
okay. So Seth, is that something that you promote on the police Facebook page?
We have. We did do it around. So if there was a bad crash on Bangalore Road in Bangalore, so everybody just,
Yeah.
you sign up. But we can certainly put it on the promotion. Yeah, I've seen our different channels in town promoting this since we agreed to do it. I've seen voting, it was there. I've kind of seen it everywhere. I think that there's an organic curve to this where there's distrust towards the government, but distrust to new things, that especially community. Not everyone uses technology the same way. So I think if we're just positive and constructive like we had with Alcina, and we just keep the message out there, people are obviously starting to see like there's a benefit to it, because we all joke around like, who's your weatherman? Oh, I don't like that person for whatever reason. I like this other person. Well, that's great. They kind of say the same thing sometimes. But having a system to say, here's what we're expecting this week, here's a road that's shut down, that's way more direct for our area. I think in time, if we continue positively with it, we'll see people.
I was gonna say, I totally agree. I don't think it needs to go to a committee. People are overloaded. It's, 15 different Facebook pages, the police, the town of Dover-Foxcroft, the school sends something out, and it's like, whoa. So I think word of mouth, and when, unfortunately, if issues arise, we can simply spread the word, saying, oh, well, I learned that by, oh, how do I find it? And that sort of thing, so.
I think it's perseverance for a little bit. Don't panic because we're not getting a great sign up. And I don't think we should judge how we're going on election day, because a lot of people want to have nothing to do
With anything.
with people around it. They want to go and vote in their own time and leave in their own time without being, so I don't think we should use election day as a guide as to how successful I would say Perseverance James and,
Yeah.
positive thoughts.
Yeah, and I think that there's probably a bunch of concerns that are in there, It's getting too much stuff. I mean, we're all overloaded, and, today I had to go up and opt out of something that I swear I said opt out when I signed up for it, but I got, like, within inside of the first day, I got like 5 emails. So I can understand some people just saying no more.
Yeah, and that's one of the, I think, things we're sort of trying to operate around is, especially in this area where we have some people who just aren't interested in technology to begin with. I mean, yeah.
Okay. Very good. There's nothing for us to act on for this.
Could I add to it though?
Sure, there's still open session, so.
Oh, good. Well, you may remember this was part of an original grant that we got from GoFit, a robust, alert system. And, I think back then when we talked about it, there was an idea floated from the board to maybe include in tax billing a little notice that this is available and what it could be used for. So that's one idea. Love to hear more.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, Chris.
No, that's fine, Bob. Yeah.
Robert Olszewski,
Yeah.
Dover-Foxcroft. So I've been questioning about this whole dam thing. Takes me a bit. I do a lot of try to research what I can. And today I went to the registry of deeds. And I got the deed for the Moosehead building. And it said Pinecrest Development Corporation, a nonprofit local development corporation organized under Title 13, Chapter 81 of the laws of the state of Maine. So my understanding was that the Moosehead or Mayo building property was signed over to Pinecrest.
Initially, yes.
Right. But it was never deeded back to the town of Dover-Foxcroft. According to this, it was deeded to Mayo Mills Holding. And there's no subdivision of the dam, which leads me to believe that either Pinecrest still holds possession of the dam because it was in their possession and never given back to the town, or Mayo Mills Holding is actually responsible for the maintenance and repair or whatever's got to be done with the dam. But I'm questioning whether the taxpayers of Dover-Foxcroft are the actual parties that are responsible to pay for this big amount of money. There is no deed to the town of Dover-Foxcroft for that dam. It goes to Pinecrest. Pinecrest is the name as the holder of the property before it was signed over to the Mayo Mills Holding.
Alcina, you want to speak to this?
So yeah, I did a little research after you had brought it up, and I can't necessarily speak to the first portion of it, but in the actual deed, if you look at like parcel 1, parcel 2, I actually took the coordinates, and that is for the actual building for Mayo Mill, not the dam, right? So then if you go further in on this,
So the other part is the easement.
right, it's an easement asking
It's
that,
not a deed.
right,
it's
it's
a-
asking, but it's in the easement. If you look on,
I saw it on the second page.
page, well, there's one in hydroelectric and then there's also
Right.
one. So if you go to the first page of the easement deed, so paragraph 1, it's discussing that,
The grantee.
yep, the grantee that, though it's saying that the town of Dover, so it's asking permission from the town of Dover-Foxcroft, which within our tax map, Mayo Mill Dam is lot 1A on the tax map 36, which reflects our tax record.
Mayo Mill Holdings shows on 1A on the tax map.
Right, but I can't guarantee, and I think there's a caveat with on that website that anything listed on there has the potential not to be accurate. It all depends on how quickly assessing goes up there. There's stuff that is missed on a regular basis, or they just didn't update that.
But this deed
Mhm.
The deed itself.
Yep.
Doesn't show a separation of the dam.
Well, the
So
deed,
it went to Pinecrest. It never came back to the town, and the deed went to Mail Mills Holding, which there seems to be some kind of mix-up in how this is happening.
So when you plot out, which I did, I plotted out the coordinates, and that is for the parcel that Mayo Mill is on, not the dam. So that's what parcel 1 and parcel 2 are. It's actually for the actual land that the structure is on, not the dam, not the powerhouse. Because actually in one part it says that it'll run along the foundation of, the wheelhouse, or specifically says the hydro building. And it's basically talking about the wooden structure of it, northeasternly corner of said wooden structure, and then it gives the coordinates. So if you actually go and do the coordinates of it, you'll actually see on the map, it's for the actual parcel that the building is on and what Mayo Mill is, or what Arnold Development actually owns, right? So, but in the easement section of it, it says, let's see, on page 1 and 2 of it, it talks about the easement trail, or easement for the recreational trail, and it asks permission from the town of Dover-Foxcroft, stating that lot 1A on the tax map of 36, so that reflects our Mayo Mill Dam, which states right there that town of Dover-Foxcroft is the actual owner of that.
It says that, but the deed doesn't. Like, that's where my confusion or concern.
Right,
comes
and
in,
that's, I mean,
because there's no actual deed into who's the actual holder of the dam.
and
There's no
that's,
deed, there's wording that we have access to it, we're granted a deeded access.
right,
But there is no deed, and the deed for 1A is actually Mail Mills Holding.
and that's something that we have reached out to the attorney to ask about clarification as to where that is and why. And it might be something that I skimmed through this real quick just to check, make sure that I wasn't missing anything. And that's at least what I've come up with. Because like on page 2 of the original deed, it talks about all these other covenants, right of ways, all those different types of things that have been granted throughout the years from Moosehead Manufacturing and so on, and to the town of Dover-Foxcroft. So I think actually like sewer receipt easement,
Right, these are all.
various other things that were titled back to the town from that. So we're just waiting to hear back from the lawyer to explain or to further, give an explanation as to where it is, or if I'm missing something in the actual deed that I haven't gotten.
It would be nice to see a deed that shows the actual ownership of the property that the taxpayers are responsible for.
100%.
And it's an unusual time for legal representation. The Eaton Peabody, which is where all of our lawyers were, is broken up. So
This is actually, I got to interrupt Steve. Yep. Drummond and Woodson is who that did this.
right, but subsequent to that, how all of the entities and the way the property moved around was all handled by one attorney.
Drummond and Woodson.
Well, no, after that, Sarah Reinhardt. So she handled all the transactions that happened subsequent to the paperwork you have. So she's the one to go to.
This was the most recent in the registry of deeds showing the ownership.
Right. So, we'll hear back from Sarah very soon. She's in the process of transitioning to another law firm right now. But, I asked her about this and a couple other issues last week, and she begged for 2 weeks to get her feet underneath. But we will figure it out. Though, because the town isn't responsible for repairing the dam now, there's been a shift in how the financial burden is going to work out. We do know that FERC, which is the federal agency that licensed the dam still has us as, the town, as,
But DEP has Mayo Mills Holding, and they, I think it's
Yes, I read that email and that's
that was
pertaining,
in 2022, they addressed it finally.
right, but that was pertaining to, Arnold Development's, geothermal discharge is what that's for.
yeah, that's not on the dam, that's on the backside of the, like the parking lot area. So that's a different thing. And you're correct, that is definitely them, not us.
And then I just want to say what a great job our emergency services did. I know Joe responded to my email. The other night, we had a big crash on Railroad Road, and almost another crash right in behind it, and the emergency service vehicle was there. Then it was kind of a dispute that broke out between parties. There was an entertainment in the evening. They did a great job, and everybody responded well.
Thank you.
Oh, it has, I know this has been an issue, and I've asked that the speed be slowed down on
Yes.
those roads. I got a petition, all the neighbors just about decided now, we can have a couple more to catch them. But, a lot of the things that are unseen are not easily understood. So I go to great depths and lengths to explain it, like I did in my emails. What's happening is on that corner, well, you're familiar with it, I know,
Right.
but I'm tracing with you. So on that corner, when people are coming at high speed like the guy the other night, they're taking the corner in the oncoming lane on that corner. And if we're coming out of Cross Road, my mother, God forbid, pulls out and somebody's, or if you're coming down Merrill's Mills Road towards the bond that they come across, a lot of people will have a tendency to yank right to avoid, and there's a pond there where there's a big possibility for an overturnment in the water and a possible drowning. This discussion was about putting some guardrails up there or something to prevent. I would really, it would be beneficial, just even, I know it's not gonna slow everybody down.
Yeah.
But the majority of people will understand that, there's families out there walking, there's children and adults riding horses on that road, there's a lot of twists and corners. You can come up on them relatively quick. I drive at 25 because I respect all of my neighbors, I go below the speed limit, I try not to stir up the dust. And I come around these corners and there you go, a couple kids in the road riding horses, and if somebody was doing 55, 60 miles an hour like that clock, it could be a sad event.
Yeah. And the petition that you've gotten the neighbors to sign, that will be helpful to us going to the state, because as we've explained to you, we can't change it. The state is the one that has to change it. So if there's buy-in from the people that live around that, I don't have any personal experience with that, but I think that would carry weight.
There's been a lot of near misses on that corner, multiple residents that right there have issues.
Yeah, I live on a hairpin, where I am at, and it has been a few years since we've had a car in the trees, but, that has happened. And every time I go around the corner, I'm never quite sure if I'm either going to make it to town or make it home, one or the other, because, it's blind curve, there's trees everywhere. So I hear you. The one benefit is it is paved, and therefore there's a distinct line, which keeps most of the people where they are. But there have been times that I've had to swing wide to avoid somebody coming the other direction.
The corner by the pond, they're coming off of Merrill's Mills on the very hill to go to town.
Mhm.
That lane was paved a little too narrow. The lane is supposed to have 9'6" or 10 foot. And you can just barely fit your vehicle between the lines, and it's happening when trucks come, a lot of tractor trailers and dump trucks come and take a wider swing, and they're out in the corner in the oncoming lane. I got hit there years ago. I don't know where truck when I was a kid.
Okay, well, when you have your petition, all the signatures, I'll definitely bring that to Alcina, and we'll see where that goes. Okay. All right, anything else for open session?
All the tools. This is sort of a long-term concern. Wandering around my neighborhood, I have come to the conclusion that about a third of the trees along the way are ash trees.
Yeah.
And we're facing an epidemic of ash borer that is already very close to us. Bangor has had problems with it. We're probably going to be losing a lot of those trees in the following years. So I don't know if you want to start a tree committee too. Whatever you have to do to deal with it, it's something to be concerned about in the long run.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Hemlock is the other one we have to be concerned about too. Yeah. Okay,
But Alcina, there's a program running at the moment for trees and register where they are and what's going to come down and how we're replacing. So it is underway.
And I'm sorry, what, road are you?
We live on Mayo Street.
Okay.
And over where the parking lot is, where the college used to be,
Mhm.
there's actually a half-dead ash tree there.
all right.
Yeah, I would just offer that we have had a tree committee in the past and we've talked about reconstituting that committee. And would you be interested in serving on it, Bob?
Sure.
Thank you. Actually, I walked down to Browns Mill today, maybe we're looking at just what board of professionals.
But why don't we finish up with the topic?
It involves a tree. I'll
Okay,
carry it.
okay, we'll carry over. All right, gonna close open session now. Open session for the board, and I think we know where we're gonna start.
So, there's that big old ash in the middle of the lawn, it's the Brownsville Park. And I thought initially, when we created that park and removed all kinds of trees along with the gunk and the lagoons, that tree wasn't long for this world because it's so isolated. But it's got a lot of foliage on it here. So I took a picture of it and I sent it to, there's a committee, that's formed at the university along with the Penobscot Nation that is kind of tracking what's going on with ash trees. And the guy responded to me right away and said they were very interested in coming to see that particular tree. So maybe, we can get some more guidance from those folks about, there's not a lot of hope for healing trees that are already infected, but they might come. I think this Dr. Daigle that responded to me right away and then copied it on his committee members. Daryl Ronco, part of the Penobscot Nation, is on that committee as well. So I think it's a good time probably for us to think about creating or recreating the tree committee and thinking about our response to the diseases as well as
Age.
how do we do replacement in a responsible way.
Okay. Good.
And we have Paul.
And we have Paul, so everything's all good
Right?
now. Anybody else open session? Henry?
Mine's simple, following the Matulises, but the local chatter is on intersections, grass mowing, overgrown. There's 4, 5, or 6 of them in town that people keep talking them. So just wondering if there is a schedule, if Public Works has listed their routine of where they're working and if they're onto it.
Yep, so they're feverishly working on clearing out signs, grass mowing, over the weekend, where most of the mowing actually happens, because there's less traffic. The mower died. So that went down, and so they are getting that repaired to be able to go back out, but they are doing weed eating, where they can around signage and areas for line of sight and that type of thing. And then also cutting back, any of the brush that's growing over to cover any kind of line of sight issues as well as signs. So they are plugging away at it.
But
but
I
it's
just,
just,
so that when the mower breaks down and there's a problem, those guys shift to the overhead brush cutting and.
well, they're doing
weed-
both
yeah.
simultaneously. That's what's happening.
And of course, everything's growing very, very, very
Yeah.
fast
Yeah.
right now.
I'm sure we're on top of that. And that just leads into road and sidewalk, sign painting. I noticed we've kind of done a lot of crosswalks, but maybe not all of them.
Right, yep.
Is
not
that
all
so
of them.
there's the weather probably and
Yeah,
people
so-
and,
Because you can't paint when it's wet.
Yeah.
So
And,
We had a sunny day Saturday.
yeah, well, exactly. And so, right. So we need a couple days in between to make sure the pavement's gonna accept the paint, so we don't end up, paying for wasted paint. But the line striping crew should be out again. I believe it's, I got word from Jeff. I think they're looking at this coming week to do long line painting, going out of town and then in-town roads, and then as well as finishing up crop blocks.
We are in the middle of tourist season. It started a couple weeks ago.
Well, that's-
so
yeah.
Okay. Anything else for open session for the board? Okay. We'll close that. And adjustments to the agenda. Got one item? Yeah, one item, yeah.
Correct. Summer schedule.
So,
It's already on the agenda.
That's already on there. It was just one that popped up this morning. Which I just looked and I forgot the paper that I had there. Remember?
I'm thinking.
Because I said, that's why we have
Committee.
adjustments. to the
The disbandment of the damn committee.
Thank you.
I think Julie has
Yeah.
a memory.
Excellent. So,
I'm very cheated.
this is why we have 7 people plus 2. Okay, so why don't we actually had James down as H.
Yeah.
So why don't we just cross that off? And to keep the rest of the lettering the same, why don't we put, we just put disbandment of the dam committee as H. And that way we leave I and J. Okay, all right, now it's time for our marathon. Well, we got the committee report first and then the marathon. So we have, protection committee met Thursday. Jane?
One of those days, yes.
Yeah.
And we went down the list, we always seem to have a list, working on fire contracts, both county as well as, neighboring towns. Code enforcement, a lot of the issues are on the agenda. Also talked about the importance of getting that website up, kind of the protection side of that. Parking enforcement, again, I'll put in we have a vacancy on planning committee. There's several ordinances that need to be written for that group. And then the bulk of the meeting was on ATV. And, we discussed at length the signage placements. We're drafting a contract with the, Dover Rovers. Also talked briefly about, opening up in priority order the routes that we have, tentatively approved, as well as, recommending the reporting of incidences for ATV. And I think that about does it. Anything else in this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Admin committee?
Yeah, well, can I ask a question first?
Sure.
There's an opening on the planning committee.
On Facebook, I saw that.
Yep, there's a vacancy on the planning board.
And do we go back to the applications that we've received in the past?
Yeah, so depending on how far out, I've honestly looked for them and I can't find them. So I'm requesting new applications. So
Because we had several, not that long ago.
I'll dig
We've
deeper.
already
but-
appointed them all.
Yeah, because wasn't it before it was a year, was what we agreed to, like it was a revolving, if it was in the calendar year, if they applied, we could go back and ask if they
Yes.
still interested.
Yeah.
Um,
If you're interested, submit another application, just in case.
Yes.
No worries.
Okay, admin committee met.
Yeah, we did meet, our main, topic of conversation was, checking in with Alcina about her, priorities and supporting her work and, just trying to understand the fluctuations in time and space for her work. We also, we also have a list, but we really focused on Alcina's work and wanting to make sure that we're supporting that and we decided we would do a 3-month more official check-in so that, Alcina always knows that we're, other things come to mind for folks that are meeting that day. I know we had like, cool things we thought we were gonna do, but we didn't. Yep, more about, just planning for orientation that we're gonna be doing later this evening.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah, just again, thanks to Jane for really doing, a lot of work on our behalf.
excellent. All right. Any unfinished business that we're aware of? Okay. Now it's the marathon. Okay, so, just so everybody knows, there's a large number of formalities that we have to go through at the beginning of the year. So we're gonna be moving through these pretty quick, I hope. Okay, so let's start on the first one.
Wow, not to delay us, I'll start. I will move that in accordance with MRSA Title 36, subsection 905, that we authorize the treasurer to withhold money due to a taxpayer from the town if that taxpayer owes past due taxes. This money is to be applied toward the oldest taxes due, plus lien cost and interest. The treasurer will give a copy of the receipt to the taxpayer, and upon request of the tax collector and treasurer of said town, hereby authorize and direct the taxpayer and treasurer pursuant to Title 36, Section 906, to apply any tax payment received from an individual as payment for any property tax against outstanding or delinquent taxes due on said property in chronological order, beginning with the oldest unpaid taxpayer. Provided, however, that no such payment may be applied to any tax for which an abatement application or appeal is pending, unless approved in writing by the tax.
First, second, discussion, all in favor? Okay. Maybe we should just, to speed it up, we could just move right around, well,
Yeah,
Go on.
let's just work right down one up.
Yeah. nobody has to take credit for it.
Yes.
All right, Jane?
Move to set the interest rate on past due taxes and sewer charges for 2025-26 at the annual rate of 7.5%.
So,
Wait, seconds it, any discussion? Favor? Going?
I moved to authorize the tax collector, sorry, I looked up to see if you said something, but
Number three.
I thought I just checked that off. So I moved to set the interest rate on abated taxes for 2025 to 2026 at 3.75% annually.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor? Go. Number 4,
Move to authorize the tax collector or treasurer to accept prepayments for taxes not yet committed pursuant to 36 MRSA 506.
Second?
discussion? Favor? Go.
Move
Five.
to, number 5, move to establish the sewer assessment due dates as January 31st, 2026 for quarters ending June 30th, 2025 and September 30th, 2025, and establish June 30th, 2026 for quarters ending December 31st, 2025 and March 31st, 2026.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor? Kevin, you're up for number 6.
Move to set the sewer rate schedule for fiscal year 25 to 26 as follows. A base rate of 101.53 for 0 cubic feet to 1,200 cubic feet and $10.61 per 100 cubic feet in excess of 1,200 cubic feet.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Excellent.
I apologize. I have a question about number 4. Do we have very many that prepay their taxes? Oh, they need a certificate.
Let's start with the front of the flag.
There you go.
Okay, all right, so we're moving on to B, police officer appointment for Trevor Dubby. Is it Dubby or
I
Doobie?
think it's Judy.
Doobie.
I move to appoint Trevor Doobie of Dover-Foxcroft as police officer for the town of Dover-Foxcroft with a term to expire June 30th of 2026.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Well, would you like to speak?
Trevor comes to us from Milo Police Department. He has 8 years experience, posting out. And, very big on community policing. In that aspect of law enforcement, so honestly, I'm very confident he's gonna be a really good fit for us, the department and. Very excited to get him.
Excellent. Well done.
And he's very excited to come here.
Yes, very much so.
As everybody from Milo is.
Whoops.
I say
Yeah.
that knowing that my Milo friends would be right here boxing my ear, but, okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? There we go. Congratulations. Okay, one of our favorites, CMP pole permit. Landfill Road.
Move to sign the CMP pole permit for the pole approximately 1,190 feet from Summer Street on Landfill Road.
Second.
Any discussion? Favor? So. Okay, now we're getting to good stuff. Consideration of naming the new Main Street Bridge after Private Willard D. Merrill and Private Martin G. Merrill Jr. Once the bridge is completed. We're not gonna name it and then destroy the bridge. That would be disrespectful.
May I? Move to name the new bridge after Private Willard D. Merrill and Private Martin G. Merrill Jr.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
I just have just the smallest amount, only all due respect, Bart. This came up so fast. Do we need to think about it from any other point of view? I'm more than happy to say yes, but I just want to make sure that there aren't 4 in front of him that people have been talking about for 20 years that were slapping somebody in the face because we didn't. And I'm all in favor of this. I just want to make sure we're not dissing anybody. None that we've heard of.
I don't know of any, but I think that for the window of time we have before we actually move on it, because the bridge has to be repaired or rebuilt. So we have enough time to ask the community if they have any qualms about it, and then we can come back and revisit if needed.
Yep, Bart, you were gonna get special permission to speak.
To answer your question, 4 or 5 years ago, they wanted to name it that for the lower bridge. And at the Legion, we recommended to name it the Veterans Bridge.
Yes.
So it's been in the process, just not pushed out in the public.
Yep.
I just wanted to do that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Jane.
So, Bart, you've been part of the Legion for years. Do you know of any, excuse me, any other POW that has been a part of the Chadbourne Merrill Legion? Or would Adrian know?
I can't answer that, to be honest with you.
Okay.
On the road, we tag people who passed away in the Legion, but I don't think we do feel them. So that's all I can tell you.
Cindy?
Yeah, so Emily, were you thinking of other veterans
No,
or just anyone else that we might have talked about honoring?
that is all. Just, was there anybody else that had been talked about before? And I know at our last meeting, it was talked about Essex Street being named the Veterans Bridge for veterans and this one. So it's all okay with me. I just want to make sure that it's covered.
Yeah, I don't remember everything, but, I can't think of a time when someone's come before the board and asked for this.
Right, right. So this is more or less now that the reality of the bridge replacement is coming up, whether that would stir any group of people to put forward an alternate name.
Or a family.
Yeah, well, sure. And that's the thing. It doesn't have to be named after an individual or even, yeah, I mean, it can be named anything like the Veterans. So we have a first and a second on there. There's there's a possibility that we could, I'll just put this out there, that we could say that this is our recommendation. We would need a different motion. We can say this is our recommendation for now, because it's gonna be 2 years before the bridge is even.
Well, we have our brunch expert that will be speaking next, from Maine DOT. I think they'll probably give us about a line possibly.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
My voice is really low, but yeah.
Yeah, he's next. I would say that we're all in favor unless
Yeah.
the only, I guess the only issue, and this is what Emery brought up, is if somebody's nose would get bent out of shape because they didn't feel that they had enough opportunity to make another proposal.
So can we have a public hearing? That's people's opportunity to come forth and.
I think so. I'm gonna make the suggestion that I'll just throw this out there as a suggestion that we do at some point, we can bring this up in our next, put a date on it, with our next item on the agenda. But, I think we should go into the public hearing with a recommendation from the board to start that off. And by default, that would be the choice. I think also with the timing of the internment here, that this is an excellent opportunity to do this now. But when was the last time we named a bridge in town? We don't really have a process for it.
They don't have names.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have names. They're cursed out a lot.
Poorer.
Yeah. So, what are people's thoughts on going ahead with this being our recommendation, but not saying that, because the way it's worded right now is that this would be final. I think that's the way I'm reading it.
So we should amend it that it's we are recommending that we do that, but we do need to have a public hearing. Like you said, have a public hearing, go into it, that's our recommendation.
Yeah.
But there's, again, a big window of time here before this would even come to fruition, so we can do our research and get feedback.
Yeah. So do we have to have the initial, recommendation withdrawn and then start again? Or just amend? Because it is the same
Do you agree
topic.
with this
Yeah,
amendment?
so,
A friendly
You can-
amendment.
Yeah.
oh,
Bart, we're gonna let you have another exception.
I'll just say this. Two boys graduated from the academy with honors. Going to service. They were at Nichols Field when the Pearl Harbor attack, their attack. They manned submachine guns in pits trying to fight the enemy off. And I had a letter from one that survived, who told me all this. And one said, this is like having a BB gun. Anyway, they made it to, I think it was the time death match. They started out with 77,000 people. When the final prison camp was taken by the Rangers, there were 500. Everybody in that whole outfit died. They slaughtered them with swords. If you came along and they were burying 50 dead, you buried the guys and they thought you were probably on the end, they tossed you and buried you with it. This is all documented. You won't find anything any more horrific than that war. And the two brothers died 24 hours.
What I think, Bart, it would be excellent to have you make a presentation at the public hearing. Honestly, I don't think anybody's gonna say anything. This is about just making sure that everybody feels that they were included in the decision, rather than hedging our bets about another outcome. I think it's a shoo-in. But it's, like I said, we've not had a process for this before. So I think, so we have who made the original?
I did.
You did. So you're gonna amend. We'll have a public hearing. We'll set a date for the public hearing. And I think we should have it well ahead of the actual construction. But we'll put a date on that.
and the board's recommending in his motion.
Right, we're recommending going forward, but we're putting this to a public hearing to make sure we get the proper info.
And this is our default. Somebody would have to do a hell of a better sales pitch than that to get us to change our minds, I think.
And Tracy has a second.
I will
sorry.
second that.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. Thank you very much, Bart. And you're on the hook for making the sales pitch, you know.
I can make it tonight. I don't know if I can make it. I wouldn't feel anything hell with this one. And I'm so emotional that.
Yeah. Well, if you don't, we will make sure that somebody else does, because this is very important and we're all on board. We just want to make sure that everybody feels that they were included in the decision-making process. And it's also just a wonderful opportunity to educate people about why we're making this recommendation rather than just it's done.
If you had been at Holden, if you'd gone up the interstate.
Yeah.
Patriotism is not there.
Yeah.
I can tell you that right now. And this is for private. I mean, it was just heartbreaking and the experience I had.
Thank you, Bart, and thank you for all that you did for your participation in making that happen.
I had 5 rangers that showed that. Thanks to this young lady's email. The oldest was old enough that he was there when they did the prison camp. He was 96, I think. And with 194, they gave you books, and you know, it was just unbelievable. Then I have a person from New Jersey, which is they named the new outfit for the Air Force after that group. Every one of those people that group died. And he came up from New Jersey and gave me a letter from the three-star general and a thing. And
Big time.
the most special one was the Green Berets. They sent a guy up from Mass, who's in the Green Berets that retired with that outfit back then. And he gave me a medal. It was just so wonderful. The honor. Somebody died 82 years old. Just
Makes us special.
I was just gonna say that, if you don't think you'd be comfortable doing a presentation, I'd be more than willing to sit down with you and put something together. And if you like, I could present it for you. I don't think you're gonna find 2 more deserving people for something like this. So I'm 100% on board with this.
Okay, whew. All right, you got me going there. Bart, you're an effective tearjerker, that's for sure.
My dad had a box with the pictures and stuff, and every Christmas my sister and I never asked him to see that box.
Thank you, Bart. Thank you. Okay, well, why don't we move on to the next one, which is discussing the bridge. Yeah, well, yeah, a bridge. We got to do that one first before we can get to the. Okay, Alcina, you want to do introductions?
Yes, so, right on the screen here is Michael White, and he is our main DOT bridge coordinator.
Michael, before we started on the Essex Street Bridge, can you give us a rough timeline for the Main Street Bridge?
The Main Street project, we're at the very beginning stages of that project. We just have engineering money to start studying it. Later this year, we'll be doing survey work and start a long process of trying to scope that project. I know one thing that we're talking we're very early in this process. I mean, that project is, 3-4 years out at the earliest. I know there was recently a vote about the dam, the Mayo Mills Dam, and we need to start having discussions about that and how these two projects coordinate. Unfortunately, the bridge and the dam are very close together, and it's a very crowded site, so there needs to be a lot of coordination efforts. That may potentially impact when we do the bridge or when the dam's done. So a lot right now, unfortunately, we've got a lot of more questions than answers, but we're talking years out.
Okay, well, thank you. That I think gives us something to chew on. We knew it wasn't going to be next year.
Yes, we have no construction money set aside, and it's at least 3, and due to the coordination issues, I mean, this is going to be probably much longer than that.
Okay, so thank you for that answer. So now you can speak to why you're actually here, which is about the Essex Street Bridge.
Yes, we're well along on the Essex Street Dover Bridge project. We're well into final design. We're hoping to actually wrap up in late August. I'm going to share some slides here for everybody.
Fill the lights. I'm gonna snap the lights off. It's a lot better.
Okay, can you guys see the slides on the big screen?
Yes. Stand over here. Now I know my tongue to see these things.
Just got a few slides. In order to wrap up this project, I'll be bringing these to probably next month's select board meeting. We need a series of agreements with town officials. Most of these are pretty minor. For example, clarifying that any winter maintenance on the bridge, it's going to be by the town officials. In regards to the sidewalk, at the north end of the bridge, we're bringing a crosswalk that's going to have a rapid flashing beacon. The DOT will put that in, but long-term maintenance, that'll be up to the town. Probably the big issue I'm going to be talking about here in just a second is street lighting on the bridge. Typically, we would start and just do what we call conventional street lighting. I discussed this with about a month ago and started the process of going. I got a real rough number. I'll present that in just a minute. If the town was interested in doing an ornamental lighting, I have a rough cost. If the town wants to pursue that, we can talk about that here and hopefully get a decision very shortly. Just so everybody's information, again, we're talking, this is Dover Bridge on Essex Street, just off East Main Street. Here's just a few pictures showing some existing street lighting in the area. Most of the ornamental lighting is attached to existing utility poles. Here's just a few pictures showing what's on East Main Street. You kind of have a black ornamental light. And on the right here is just a non-ornamental light attached to a utility pole. Now, typically, we would generally start with, on any of our projects, we just put what we call a conventional street light. Here's just a few sample pictures. These are very simple, clean, nothing fancy about them. They're generally 30-foot tall poles. And we use LED lights now that last a very long time, need very little maintenance. Very simple, clean design, does the job, provides lighting for pedestrians and vehicular traffic.
Yep.
Or if the town is interested, we could do some sort of ornamental street lighting. This is a light that my consultant found that it's very similar to the one you guys have up in other parts of town. This would be a black street light. We still have to work out the exact height of it. Generally, it would be 12, 14, or 16 feet high. We kind of picked this model to kind of match what you guys already have at other locations in the area. And but as part of the agreements that we're bringing next month, there'll be one part of the agreement. We'll talk about lighting on the bridge. And if the town is interested in some sort of ornamental lighting, generally how the department handles it is we figure the cost of conventional lighting that the department will pay 100% on. We figure the cost of the ornamental lighting. And basically that cost difference is what we ask the town to pay. In long term, as part of this agreement, ultimately the town is going to be responsible for paying the power bill. And, if the LED luminaires, when they burn out many, many years from now, the town will be responsible for paying the light bulbs. My consultant just got me a cost estimate for conventional light standards or conventional lighting. It's about $220,000. Right now, DOT would pay for that 100%. If the town would like some sort of ornamental lighting, we have a total cost of $265,000 and change, with a cost difference of $45,000. So if the town wants to pursue ornamental lighting, the town would have to foot the bill for that cost difference of $45,000. So with that, questions, comments, discussion. Is the town interested in stepping up and do they want ornamental lighting or not?
I have a question.
I'm gonna snap the lights on just so everybody knows. Yeah, that's why I gave you all a little heads up.
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
So currently there are no streetlights on the bridge.
Yes, currently there are no lights physically on the bridge itself, yes.
So do we have to put lights on the bridge?
Talking to my traffic engineers, they recommend that we do put lights, street lighting up on the bridge due to safety concerns, especially due to the intersection of Vaughan Road, which is right at the very end of the bridge. And just past Vaughan Road, we have a new crosswalk going in. So they do highly recommend street lighting go in. And if we do, again, if everybody's okay with conventional lights, DOT will pay 100% of that. There'll be no cost share for the town.
Well, my question is more about what level of lighting do we really need? Could we just have a light by Vaughan Street and leave the rest alone as it is now? Because there is street lighting on Lincoln Street and Vaughan Street, and then on the other side of the bridge. And I've not heard anyone say, how come there aren't any lights on the bridge? Or notice that we needed them. And I can understand the safety issue that you bring up for that intersection, but I guess I'm not convinced we need to have lighting on the bridge at all. And we are trying to be very careful about not having more lighting than we need in our community because of dark sky, the desire to maintain dark sky. And so we have a pretty, so I guess my question really is about why do we need lights on the bridge that is not currently lit?
It's primarily driven by safety concerns, especially for pedestrians using the crosswalk just past the end of the bridge. You know, we have standards that we want to make sure that we have good lighting on either side of the crosswalk, in addition to having good lighting on the bridge. I mean, it's for pedestrian safety and vehicular safety. If you can't see people at that crosswalk, it really is a safety problem. And you briefly mentioned the whole dark sky. All of the lights that we do are dark sky compliant. Light only shines down. We don't allow any other type of fixtures.
Okay, Jane?
If I could ask the chief, do you have any perspective, safety-wise, regarding the other lights that are located in other parts of town and the bridge?
Honestly, I think our town's pretty dark, you know, when it comes to, you know, when you're looking at it from a perspective of safety. There's a lot of areas that are far darker than they should be. Keeping in mind that I know a lot of people in town also prefer it dark, but strictly from a safety standpoint, our town is quite dark. Even if you're driving down Main Street, East Main Street on the West Main Street, that's a pretty dark corridor.
Okay, Joel?
I think that, I mean, I've driven it a million times in my life, and especially when it's not the perfect weather, the bridge is rather dark. Kids go across it, fishing, biking, you name it. So the redesign will help. I think standard lighting is fine. Personally, I don't want to use taxpayer money for the other lights. I know they look good, but we're trying to watch our budget. So I think for safety and aesthetics, like the lights are a good thing. It's not going to hurt.
Okay, Emery?
I think that we all like the way the other lights look in town, but they don't work very well, and our town is unsafely dark to be walking the streets. And there must be a lumen amount on both sets of lights, but I can't see going towards decorative. No, I would stay on the conventional.
Okay. So, I guess we need you were looking for a decision now?
Perfect world, yes, I'd love to have a decision now.
Well, let's make it a perfect world tonight.
Well,
Yeah, Cindy?
I think this is something we should have known before that might have gone to the planning board. So I think it's unfortunate that we only found out about it and you want to know tonight.
What he needs to know tonight is whether we're willing to pay more.
I know.
Not how many lights or where they're at, or if there's any lights. It's just, if there's going to be lights, are we going to pay the extra? That's right now is the only thing that we need to determine. In terms of location and how many, or that should be something that is looked at. We should go out there at night and really pay attention to it with that in mind. So what I would be looking for is a motion about whether or not the town is willing to upgrade whatever light fixtures may or may not be on there to the decorative lighting.
I move for us to keep conventional lighting and not upgrade to the ornamental lighting.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
One point, I think this is a safety issue. If we're concerned about the Lights Protection Committee, can talk to Seth. It sounds like this is a standard with the state, but we can do our part to kick it off. And if anyone wants to be part of the conversation, they will.
Okay. So basically we have a motion that whatever lighting we have on the bridge, if any, that will be state standard. It will not be decorative lighting on our shoulders. Okay. We have first and did you? Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? 6. You opposed? Okay. So you're in favor of decorative lighting?
I'm in favor of that if we have to have lighting. If we only are gonna have one light at the intersection by the crosswalk, I think I don't necessarily feel that way, but if we're gonna end up with lights across the bridge, I think we should have decorative lighting, and I don't think that's a big difference in money.
Is that something we can discuss here? Because we have no idea how many lights are going there right now, right?
Yeah, so. Well, what is the suggested count?
The suggested count, I believe, is a total of 6 lights, and 2 of them are basically going to be on either side of the crosswalk, with the other 4 distributed across the bridge. I mean, basically, the spacing is determined by national standards, so there's a minimum amount of light between the lights. I wouldn't recommend, just changing that standard. But
Okay, thank you. All right, so we did have a vote on going with the standard lighting, and I think that's feeling, and we should stick with it. But in terms of, we should take another look in terms of the number of lighting and how much.
I will. Yeah, I will work with my design team, and I'll see if we can maybe have a conceptual plan at your meeting in July. And,
okay, why don't we do that? Move forward. We can all, in between now and then, we can all go out there and make an assessment ahead of our July meeting, and be ready to see what your engineering team has come up with.
Yeah,
okay, James.
And just one last item, I'll be bringing these different agreements back to your July meeting for approval.
Okay.
Most of them are pretty straightforward, like I mentioned earlier.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mike, well, hang on.
Yeah.
I have a question regarding Bond Street coming on to Essex Street. There was a mirror that, for safety purposes, was there to enlighten people coming off from Bond Street for traffic going across the bridge. Will that be part of the redesign?
Right now, we do not plan on including the mirror. We've improved the sight distance at that intersection and don't feel it's needed. The new bridge is going to have slightly wider shoulders, so when you pull up, you're going to have better visibility looking across the bridge.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, and we can see how it goes, and if we don't like it, we can stick a mirror on it.
You can always do that.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We'll see you in July.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Goodbye. All right. Town of Dover-Foxcroft Fire Department ordinance. Have a motion.
Move to approve.
Second?
Any discussion about this? Nope, we're all, yep, we've been over this many times, but
Okay, so is it just formality? Because the vote was 569 for and 326 against. So this is just a formality that we.
Just a sign
Yeah.
Okay.
that it was accepted.
Yep.
Via vote. Yep.
yeah, that we didn't have an issue with how the vote was counted or anything like that. Yep. So, all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Code enforcement updates. And you've been waiting so patiently.
Hard not to speak sometimes, even though it's not appropriate for me to speak. Updates on 262, that has been sold. The person who bought it is from Milo, and I believe is the owner of the Chinese restaurant there. So we don't know if it's coming, if she's gonna bring one here or what they're gonna do, but it has been sold. It was sold last Monday. Was the date of the deed.
But they can't call it Milo Maine if it comes here.
And I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean,
Understood.
no, I understand.
I love that name
They
so
can
much.
find a very funny name.
With regard to 107 Grove Street, the homeowner came in to say that the yard has been picked up. Brian and I went by. She was sitting in her vehicle in the yard when we stopped out front to take a look, and it was a little awkward. So we kept going. The yard is very overgrown from the trees, and the grasses. So I'm taking her word at this point in time that it's cleaned up, but the porch is still full of things. So we're just gonna kind of see how this goes.
And you still have not gotten inside, correct?
That's 130 Grove Street.
Oh,
And we've had zero contact from 130 Grove Street. That was the one that you voted on for dangerous building.
right.
Brian and I had a conference with Jonathan, who said that she wasn't given the information that it was a date certain for a vote for the May 28th meeting. So we really should have you folks put it on the agenda for next month and give her a notice that it's a date certain for the dangerous building hearing, just to vote again and give her a chance to come in and speak. I know.
No move.
Yeah.
Put it in the minutes.
Yeah.
Wait, can I ask
Yes.
again? Was it the way it was, the way we cited it in the minutes?
It was that
wasn't
she
sufficient?
didn't have, we didn't notify her that it was specifically going to be discussed. Now, you had given her 14 days, and 2 days after the 14 days was your meeting, but we didn't say to her,
Date certain.
this is gonna be rediscussed at the next
I
meeting.
could have sworn we did say that. We picked 14 days and then because
Told
we
her.
discussed that our next meeting was this day, which is why the 14 days
Yeah.
worked.
Well,
But, sorry.
I just, based on my understanding, and I always err on the side of caution to make sure there's proper, basically due process, notice and opportunity. So clearly the hearing she was served the initial hearing that was continued based on the understanding that there was going to be allowed access to get in there. I understand that didn't occur. It wasn't clear to me that for a continuation of the hearing at that specific date that she was aware of that. There also is the requirement to adopt a written decision or written order. So if you're going to need, and I don't think that's been done. So to complete that, you should do that. Very simple to have a notice that this is going to be continued on this specific date in July, whatever date that is, for the purposes of final resolution, including the adoption of a written decision order. That way it's very clear that the property owner has the opportunity to be there if she wishes to do so.
I can tell you that I've been by it again. The dumpster is now gone, and the porch roof, if you go by it, it's just waiting for the hole to come through where the door is, and the screens are tearing up off the side. So it's definitely shifting.
Okay.
Like you had a question.
So the learning is that the town needed to notify her specifically via certified mail that the hearing, no?
I would say if it's a continuation of a hearing, continued, it's either continued to a date certain when you make the decision to continue it, or if that's uncertain, the individual, the property owner needs to know when that is going to be rescheduled specifically. And I do that in writing. Doesn't have to be a service necessarily, but it needs to be written documentation that if it's continued to this date, that person knows that date is when it's going to be brought up again as a business cycle.
So every time we discuss it, it needs to be known to the owner.
Yes.
That it's discussed.
Yeah.
Could that be put in the minutes, please?
Yeah, and it sounds like what we should be doing is we've got a proposed motion here, the second one. Move to allow code enforcement to schedule a final hearing. That would serve as the written notice right there, that we agree to pass that resolution to empower.
Yeah, essentially, whatever the July meeting date is, that specific day and time, direct town staff to provide notice that the hearing is continued again to that date. And whatever delivery points are, it can be an email, it could be a letter, it could be serviced by sheriff, as long as you have written notification.
So I'd be looking, why don't we do the second one first, since we're on it?
Yeah.
I'd be looking for a motion slightly amended from what's written to also just emphasize that there needs to be written notice sent out to the property owner.
And not to belabor it, I think there's also a party record two services done. I think it was parent's father.
Right.
So party of record.
All the parties of record,
Exactly.
all the above.
Exactly.
Because he holds the mortgage.
So, someone make that motion?
Make that motion.
Okay. Julie, do you think you've got it sufficient addition to what we've already done?
Yeah, we'll make a motion to notify her writing of the next hearing, assuming in July.
Yeah. Okay, we got a nod from the audience. That's what we needed.
Second,
Okay. All right, any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. All right, so now back to the first one. Somebody make a motion about the dwelling?
Move to allow code enforcement to move forward in declaring 56 Julie Avenue as a dangerous building.
Second by Emery.
now this is the one that burned.
Yes, and, her mail is all coming back to us now. We've started, I tried to send her a certified letter. Tax collector tried to send her a certified letter. They both have come back as undeliverable. So I heard she was living with her father, but I have no idea where she is at this point in time.
Right.
Joel?
I also know that a number of people have actually wanted to purchase that property, and the conversation did not go very effective.
And we've had two people, in addition to your person, who've approached the owner to try to purchase it.
Well, that's not a vote of confidence. Okay. Any more comments? Okay. All in favor? Excellent. Thank you all. Okay, now.
I have two more.
Oh, you have two more.
They're quick though.
Okay.
One is 8 Cherry Street, and neighbors were complaining of a rodent issue. We contacted the owner. She called last week, very responsive. Said she would clean things up, get things, there's an old camper there. She thinks they're living in that. She's gonna have that hauled out. I drove by today and she was out weed whacking and cleaning up the yard to help. She said she had traps out, but had put them somewhere where the neighborhood cats and pets couldn't get at them. So she is working on it. And the other one is 8 Mayo Street, which is also a rodent issue. I've sent two letters to the homeowner. If I don't hear from him by Wednesday, Jonathan is gonna send, the attorney's gonna send a letter, and I've contacted Modern Pest Services, and they've given me an estimate. It's $1,200, I think. It's a year-long process. They won't need, if we hire them, they're gonna wanna be there every month, checking and setting traps and doing whatever it is they do. One of the neighbors just told me tonight that the person had lived there for a while and they think that it's probably uninhabitable because his dogs were, let's just say they had free roam of the house to do everything in the house that they wanted to do in the house, which may be what's attracting the rodents. So this may turn into a dangerous building at some point in time that we have to go forward with as well. I did try to contact Orkin. I made 2 phone calls to their national number, 2 phone calls to the Bangor number, 0 return calls.
Really?
Really.
So the Orkin man was,
The Orkin man was
Off on
not
vacation.
helpful.
all right, well, don't believe you TV commercials.
Question, well, observation, Cherry Street, the neighbor, children, there's a swimming pool, there's activities,
They were in the
so,
pool today.
well,
Yeah.
so probably other rats, but, anyway. And with the Mayo Street, the $1,200 bill goes on to their taxes, correct?
Yes, we would take
Is
it
that
and try to get
correct?
them to pay it, but then it would be a special assessment because I've got no contact, and my understanding is he pays his taxes the day before, the day they're supposed to go to lien, essentially. Foreclose. I don't know. Yeah,
Okay. All right, any more
that's
discussion?
the end of it.
Great, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Nan. And we appreciate, as you said, about having done this as many times as we have, we can kind of sense where certain properties are more likely headed. The Cherry Street is an example of having hope
Right.
Because somebody's right out there and
Right.
taking action. as
Yeah, and the
opposed to-
homeowner was out there with a weed whacker today.
Oh, that's very encouraging. I'm glad to hear that. Okay, we'll move on to H, which was Everbridge, but is now, do you have anything else? No. Anything, but figured I'd check. This is, basically a motion to formally disband the second dam review committee as it is done its job. I will say that in the future, as this project progresses, there may come a time when there's a kind of a branch in the options of where to go. And if that should happen, instead of it just being a straightforward engineering issue, we put pushes over there or over there. We would convene a new committee at that time to look at whatever the issue is at that time. But until then, disbanding the committee that we already have.
I'll move to disband.
Okay, have the first.
Second.
I thought Tracy was gonna jump in right with second.
He's got PTSD from it.
Yeah, discussion?
No, you.
Oh, okay. So my question is, so what are the next steps? And does this fall within one of our subcommittees? The dam?
We're,
Dam?
this can be part of your, you wanna say something in your.
Well, you're welcome to, but, as far as next steps is, the agreement between the town and then the partners moving forward. That's the biggest next step, and then from there, timeline will develop.
Well, I guess my question is it on your shoulders or will a committee support you in that?
No, senior shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be an evolving process. It won't be the same thing all the way through, but to
Well-
start with, we've discussed this earlier. To get the initial contracts drafted is not on our shoulders at all, really. It's on the partners. That will come back to us, whether we put it to one of the committees or not.
So
Probably, I think, maybe, but we have to sign off on it. But just to
My
say,
question earlier, because again, I think we had the assignment of committees to write their plan.
Mhm.
And it would be nice if a committee knew that their plan potentially could be the dam.
This is
So,
an excellent-
hence my question.
yeah, no, that's an excellent point. Why don't we tackle that? What committee, tell you what, why don't we just vote on this and then, we'll basically I'll ask, we'll just stick it down at the end, after this next one. To plan on one committee, being responsible whenever Alcina has need for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, if we were fully staffed, we would have someone who is a project, managing projects. Not everything sits with the committee. A lot sits with our staff that isn't necessarily assigned to a committee for oversight. And so if we had that person who's in either the assistant town manager or communication and project management, we would sit with that person to make sure things are moving in the direction that they need to be.
Okay. Then I guess since we've had enough, this discussion has gone in that direction for this. Do we have, I think there should be a go-to committee that's just on standby for the next few years. That Alcina knows that these are the three people and an issue came up today. I need to discuss it with somebody. It doesn't need the full attention of the board, but it needs some input. Which committee do we think would be the best to handle?
Do we expect a lot of this to be financially motivated, the questions?
I'm gonna be honest, it's gonna be pretty straightforward, like, we're gonna be hands off. Once the partners and we sign an agreement, they're taking the reins as far as moving through FERC and all of those processes. So
So do you need a committee, or would you rather ping the proper committee for an answer that you think needs to address it?
I mean, just pinging a proper committee if something comes up, I think would be
Right,
fine.
because she can tell us like, oh, this is protection or this is finance, and we can answer.
Yep, okay,
But
that seems good, yeah.
totally agree with disbanding the current committee, but why aren't we moving forward with a committee of similar size with select board members and members of the public to steer and guide us through this? Because I mean, not everything is a foregone conclusion. At the moment, there's a lot to discuss before we get down to money and agreements, isn't there? And
No, and that's the thing, at some point there might be.
Right.
And I think that's like maybe 2 years away from it. So I don't think that if we stood up a committee now and then didn't have anything to do
right,
for the next 2 years, it would all drift away. So, as Alcina said, for right now, it's pretty much just in their hands. They're gonna keep us informed about where the process is at, but there's just basically a big checklist that we're going through. Until FERC signs, until we get to the point where we have to present an actual plan to FERC, in my view, from all that we've learned, that's probably maybe the first opportunity that we would need some possible input. In terms of sculpting the land in one way versus another way. And that's maybe 2 years out.
So it's going into autopilot for now, basically, as things move forward.
Correct.
Yeah, from basically a public input standpoint, there's not much to discuss for probably at least a year, if not 2 years.
So back to, we need to vote to disband the current committee, correct?
Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor? And, Alcina, you are free to bug whoever you want for help. As always, that's a standing order. Okay, select board, summer meeting, and I left my phone somewhere, but
Can you tell me?
no. We usually aim for the end of the month. I can say for sure that Jane will be probably doing that. We're at the end of the month. And going to, actually, I'll probably miss no, because we're only doing it for July and August. Okay, yeah.
so for Kevin, we normally only meet once during the summer months.
Yes.
Okay.
We could do a hazing ritual and not tell them. Have them show up here, the office is dark.
I won't let him.
Yeah, she wouldn't let us do it. We all voted before, but she.
21st, 28th.
I would say, why don't we do the 28th? That would be 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be our regular meeting anyway. So I'm proposing 28th of July. Does that seem good to everybody?
Works for me.
Okay. Your birthday? Well, somebody will have a cupcake for you.
Make a cake.
Make a note. Oh, cupcake.
I won't make it. You want to edible, then that's the thing.
Okay, and then, if we keep to that schedule and keep everything spaced apart, then that would be August 25th. Be our August meeting. And then we'll slide back into the normal routine. Is that all right with everybody? So make a motion that we're going to do, somebody needs to make a motion for the July 28th and August 25th.
I move to set the summer meeting scheduled for July 28th and August 25th.
Second.
Me too. All right, all in favor? Excellent. All right. Well, now it's on to town manager's report.
Okay, I'll keep it short, because it's been very long. So, electrical vehicle chargers have been installed. They were targeting for operational days to be either in July to early August. Final inspections and those remaining site work that needs to be done before the, they'll sign off on that. As we all know, it's very hot outside. Our cooling center is opened, and that is from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We opened it today, and that'll be open until Wednesday. Hottest period is going to be tomorrow as stuff, temperatures rise, humidity rise. Stay indoors when possible, limit outdoor activity, and stay hydrated. To find our cooling center is you go down the hallway through the double doors to the left. It's in our community room. There's a big cooler full of ice and bottled water in there. So thank you, Scaticus EMA, for the water. Picked some of that up this morning. And we are offering obviously air conditioning, Wi-Fi, device charging, and water in the set. And this is a perfect segue into volunteers. If anyone would like to volunteer, and also stay cool, this is a good opportunity. We're seeking folks to help staff the cooling center and even our warming center when that gets open. Shifts are flexible. They range anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, depending, or whatever time you have to give. And if you're interested, please contact me directly. Information is on the town website, and happy to answer any questions about that. And as soon as we get a small group of volunteers, I'll be offering another training class for those volunteers, just to get them up to speed as to how we operate things here. Road signage updates over the next few weeks. You'll notice there'll be new road signs going up as far as children at play, sharp curves, warning. Bob had alluded to potential like guardrails, to see budgetary, what we can do on that. And then Public Works, this kind of leads into it. They've been working to install some of the signs. The yield sign from Fairview to Lincoln has been changed to a stop sign. I have to work with DOT as to check to see whether or not we can change Lincoln to Essex into a yield, because the way that the road is curved and the line of sight looking up Essex, I think that's why it was a yield, or why they had determined that to be a yield. So for the time being, it'll be yield. Vegetation growth, as mentioned earlier, has given the group challenges. If you notice any missing or damaged signs and also places, blind spots and whatnot, please contact the town office so we can address those. And then also paving bids have gone out for Landfill Road and a section of Bear Hill that we just addressed that needs to get done. So that section is from Bear Hill from Bryant Road to Board Eddy Road, and then also Landfill Road from Route 16 to the landfill gate. The deadline for those is Thursday, July 10th, and they can either be mailed sealed envelopes to the office here, or emailed to our Goral Palmer associate, Zachary Fitzpatrick, and that information and the documents will be on the website. And that's what I got.
Excellent. All right. Okay. Sandy, has any questions about those?
So, question clarified, for the cooling centers, the individuals have to call. I thought I saw a post from another group that said, make sure you call your cooling center so that.
Yeah. It depends on how the town wants to operate them. So EMA put out a post, basically,
Okay.
if you need a cooling center, call dispatch, the non-emergency dispatch, and they can direct you, because some of them are on call basis. We chose to just open them. So it's open. The community room's there, it's here. And just as sorry, I forgot to mention this. Tuesdays, normally the office is closed, but it will be open so that you can access, and you are also able to access from the far end from the gym as well to get the community room. So.
Okay. All right. So,
Oh, wait, six,
oh,
what's that?
that was a hand. I thought it was a hand.
It's just a wave.
So what's happening without a core of volunteers right now? Like what's gonna happen tomorrow?
I'm sorry, repeat that again.
So if we don't have a core of volunteers
Yep.
to share shifts, what's gonna happen tomorrow with people coming?
So right now, it's kind of come as you go type situation. As far as I can tell, nobody has utilized, the center yet. We kind of had the same thing when we opened it in the warming. I think it's more education based. So my plan is, because it is a quote unquote off day, James offered to come in for a few hours. Also, if anybody happens to come in, it's a perfect opportunity to get them signed up for Everbridge, right? So 2 birds with 1 stone. And I plan on heading in there. There is a sign-in sheet for folks to just sign in so we can kind of get a census if there is people utilizing it. And I plan on popping in every so often, checking to see if anyone's down there, if they need anything.
So usually the door would be locked, so it's gonna be open. tomorrow.
Yes, it'll be open tomorrow.
And we just sort of hang out and see if anybody comes.
Yeah, that's pretty much how they operate, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Any update on the IT and the HR bids and or RFP?
So we have, we just received, the HR bids just closed. We just received those in the mail as of just this past week. Haven't had a chance to review them yet. So those will be coming to admin shortly. Probably actually the next meeting, which I think is the 14th, if I remember, or July 1st. 14th was last month. They're all scrambled together.
Very confusing when you say the 14th. Yeah. the first
Yeah,
at
no,
2:30.
the first. And and then also as far as IT, we asked for additional information for some of the companies. Basically our runners up for budgeting purposes and also a 5-year work plan kind of outlook as to what they see for infrastructure upgrades for us because they came and evaluated our sites. And so we're just waiting to hear back from them. They said potentially like a week and a half turnaround. And so that's coming to an end probably at the end of this week now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right. We do an open session at the end. If anybody has anything that they want to speak to about topics tonight, we'll get you both. Art.
My job in street lighting. Goes over a bit of light. David asked me to come in and I talked to him about it. And he had 2 regular lights that we talked about, and then all of a sudden I see they put ornamentals up. Those ornamentals are designed to be 18 feet off the ground. They don't put out the light. It disperses before it works. All of the lights you bought, 0 black up top. They put them on the older brackets, so they sit like this. They have to be level. My whole backyard, I get a free light. Because the neighbor's one is like this. A lot of the brackets were designed for a different style of light, and they didn't change the brackets, they just put the lights on the brackets.
Yeah. It also looks like a couple might have shifted over time too.
Yeah, just to review it can be fixed. Those can be tipped down.
Yeah.
Okay. There's an issue of neighbors complaining about light and not enough, like you said, not enough light on the ground. The reason is that the light is not going to the ground, it's going out this way.
Yeah.
They're designed to go right straight down.
Thank you, Bart.
Carol Boothroyd, my question's for Alcina. Alcina, any chance of having some signage on the doors?
Yes,
About
there's
the
already
center?
signage on around the hallway.
Mhm.
I'll be honest, when you come to this first front door, there's so many signs.
Yeah.
People don't look at it and they just walk by and then they just look at you kind of deal or knock on the door. So when you first come in, Julie had put a sign, says cooling center, arrows that way. Same thing when you hit the double doors, it says come through these doors, make a left right into the first room. And then there's a sign, please sign in, come inside, welcome, joy.
So, when we wrote that grant for the cooling warming centers, we were urged on by Dr. McDermott from the hospital. So I wonder if somebody can give a call up there. Often people pile into, and sit around in the emergency rooms.
Yeah.
Waiting rooms. So maybe give them a call in the morning and let them know that the center's open.
Yeah, and we've also been advertised, a news channel last night or this morning or something like that, and we're also listed on, Maine Emergency Management's website as far as,
Did it go out on Everbridge?
I'm sorry,
Did it go out over Everbridge?
yeah, so scheduled to go out on Everbridge at like 7. I had one scheduled, posted, and then also another one that's scheduled in the morning to post to say extreme temperatures, and then also that the center's open. Because tomorrow is where it's gonna be the biggest.
Yeah.
The biggest heat index and.
Thank you for doing this.
It's a
Okay,
good
any-
idea to call the hospital though,
Mhm.
because that's a problem at the hospital where tons of people are in the waiting room that are just there to cool off.
Well, yeah.
Okay, anything else from the board? Joel?
So the assistant town manager thing's come up a number of times, and I'd like first to try to make some progress on that, because
Get the hiring.
Alcina is a bottleneck. That's not a negative, that's, you've got everything on your shoulders, and she can't do everything. She definitely can't respond to every email or phone call on top of that. So at this point, I feel like it's a disservice if we don't make some movement to help her with her focusing on what her strengths are.
Yeah.
I would also like to see us work on an ordinance committee and a town charter review committee
Yes.
with our town attorney, so that we have everything outlined, so we
Yeah.
can get that rolling.
Yeah, and whether we'll see how the next meeting's agenda shapes up. But we do need to get the ball rolling on both of those things. Also, the ordinance issue would be wrapped up in the comprehensive plan review. I have been given some advice that we want to push that off as long as we can, because the state is screwing around with some stuff. So it was just some advice of see how the dust settles down in Augusta before we put a whole bunch of time into something. But we have to do it starting this year at some point.
Right.
Okay.
Just regarding the assistant town manager, when we had our admin meeting, Alcina encouraged us to wait for the HR consultant's work to see about our, making sure we are properly staffed. So we're waiting for that.
But, to Joel's point, and just that I think we're all acknowledged, but also this is for Kevin's benefit here. Alcina was brought in because we recognized we needed two positions. Just for the day-to-day work, but also to cover in the event of vacations or a health issue or whatever it might be. And as awesome as Alcina is, that didn't go away. So now that we've kind of gotten our feet underneath us, it's definitely, we need to be looking for that.
Right, and our agreement before was, yes, the HR consultant has to happen, and it is, but it was to hopefully have someone already in the assistant position in some way to learn from them as they are doing their thing and rebuilding and helping train someone, because that's part of the assistant town manager's job. So I don't want to miss the window of opportunity that we already agreed we needed to fill.
Right. So we'll have that will be one of the first things on our agenda for the next meeting. Yep, okay. All right, well, I'm looking for adjournment on this particular meeting. We have to, right. We can't end this one until we've come out of the executive session. Well spotted, Jane. Okay,
Why
so
get the big box?
yeah, so we're looking for a motion to go into executive session.
I move to go to executive session for one MRSA 4056E to discuss rights and duties of municipal officers with the town attorney who is present.
Okay,
Second?
we had a lot of non-verbal communication, so we got a first and second, all in favor?
Here.
Okay, we're in.
I think we need to put Tracy and Payne together so they can
Yeah.
second and talk.
I'll wait.